What is up, fans of Grapplers Talk? This is Dave coming at you with another episode each and every week. First of all, I just got to say thank you to our partners out there. We're partnered with Spar Bar Soap. Go onto their website. You want to stay clean while you're training, you want to stay clean after you're training. Y'all need to be using Spar Bar Soap. It's an amazing product made here in the United States by a local family, and their product is truly amazing. They put out great soap, great product. The scents are amazing. And if you go on their website and type in code Grapplers Talk, you get 10% off all of your orders. And they're great people, and it's awesome to support other good people in the jiu-jitsu community. We're also brought to you by Butterfly X, our rash guards. And man, our stuff from Butterfly X is amazing. I'm loving their stuff. I've been using their no-gi kits and all of their gear that they sent me, and it's truly good quality product out there. And coming to you guys all the way from Texas. They're two guys that train jujitsu and just are doing their passion in creating Butterfly X. So check them out. I'm thrilled to get into this episode today or tonight, whatever you want to say. But truly, the guy I have on this week, I'm a big fan of. I first caught him at Grappling X a couple years ago, and it was kind of funny. He was just walking through the competition and kind of doing some breakdancing moves out there. And I was like, man, this guy is really good. And I'm always trying to get to know some of the better people out there. And I'm truly honored to have on none other than Brady Wicklund, man. What is up, brother? How you doing?
What's up, dude? How you doing? Pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, and they call you the Black Belt Farmer, right?
Yep, that's what I've been going by lately. It seems nobody really knows my name, but they kind of know my handle, you know.
Yeah, the Black Belt Farmer. And I think it's been a while since I seen you. You got this beard grown out, but I want to talk to you a little bit about your story and how you got involved into grappling and jujitsu, and what was the original driving force that got you into it.
Honestly, dude, just being a little redheaded stepchild and getting picked on all my life, like
Yeah.
it was kind of a natural progression. I wrestled a little bit growing up and kind of was raised royal, running around dirt bikes and go-karts and doing climbing fences and just out in the country with livestock and animals and
Yeah.
you know just
Kids don't
the
know
good
about
stuff.
that nowadays.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely not. And I think the real advantage to raising a kid out here is they can really move and groove, as free as they want, climb stuff, so you don't have to really watch them or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a different way of life. I have some friends that live out in the country, and it's something else when you see their kids, because they're like out trying to build things and take things apart, while other kids are like, "Oh, where's my iPad?" And
Yeah, no
and it
iPads here.
yeah, it's a
mine's r-
completely
mine's running feral right now. She's wild.
yeah, it's a completely different way of life out there. But where was the first place that you went and trained?
Honestly, dude, I was kind of blessed to have walked into Dave Terrell's place right off the bat.
Yeah,
I didn't have to go anywhere else, and luckily, when I walked in there, there was world class talent, and I didn't even realize it when I first started.
yeah,
The likes of Joe Soto, who was the Bellator champion at the time. Um, There was, Jordan Williams. He got into the UFC. There's a handful of UFC guys at the time. Kelly Fazol was in the UFC. A bunch of people that I came up with. They were just true killers. Colin Hart and you know
yeah.
the lineup over there some nights was like 20 purple, blue, and then the black belts outnumbered all of them every time. There's
Yeah.
always like high level guys showing up, and then from all over the world, which was cool. So you got all different styles, all
Right.
different looks. And like some days I just show up to practice, and Dave would be like, "Here, go with this guy." And
Yeah.
I got my ass kicked for a long time. I was a wrestler, so I like to like lead with my head and get choked.
Yeah.
So that that was a hard transition for me for a while. But
Yeah. It's crazy though, because once wrestlers do make that transition and embrace the jujitsu a little bit more, they're really hard to stop at that point. Once they add a little bit of jujitsu to their fundamentals of wrestling and their base and everything, it's a really hard matchup to figure out.
absolutely. I really think that's the future of what's coming in jiu-jitsu is just the wrestlers that grew up in the wrestling room grinding, and then at about 15, 16, they jump into jiu-jitsu and really start to learn that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like there's more of a competitive or at least some sort of career aspect in going that route where after wrestling there's not much unless you're trying to get to the Olympics.
Right, and even that, like, you're not really getting paid for the Olympics. There's no stipends or anything. I don't know how much these guys are actually bringing home after, camps and food and travel and all this stuff. They might get to pay for it. The number one guy. I don't know how much team like the USA Wrestling covers it, but USA Grappling's like, they do their best with the number one squad, but everybody else is kind of like, hey, pay your own way kind of deal.
Yeah, definitely. So getting into Dave Terrell's gym now, a lot of these young kids nowadays don't really know the prestige of a guy like Dave Terrell. And Dave Terrell is Caesar's first black belt. He's had NorCal Fight Alliance at least for 20 years that I know of. He's a veteran of the game. Back in the day, he was known for his competitive drive in the room and being really good at jujitsu. But then he hit the UFC scene, knocking out people like Matt Lindland and big time names. So like, he was retired before a lot of these kids were even born.
Absolutely, yeah. And an early retirement, I think, it was there's a lot of people I think that would like to see him go again. And I think if he picked it up today, he would still be a driving nightmare for most of the guys in the division. He's still, I mean, he rolls every day and he's,
Right.
you know,
I always wish that some of the guys in that time period, if jujitsu was as big as it is now, where people are making big time paychecks, doing matches and stuff, like guys like Dave Terrell, he would easily be going against guys like Gordon Ryan.
dude, I tell him we went to the ADCC when not too long ago before CJI popped off the year before. So
Yeah.
and we were sitting in the stands, and I was like, we were watching some of the, legends come out, and I'm like, dude, you beat these dudes.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing this? And he's just like, I don't have it. He's got kids now, and he's
Yeah.
he's doing the drive with them now. So
Yeah, it changes, once you have kids and you start seeing them train and them grow up and you
it's
know
more fun, dude.
yeah, it truly is, man. That's what it's about. But talk to me about getting tied in with the USA Grappling Team and how long you've been doing that and how'd you get involved in that?
Yeah, kind of on a whim, dude. I saw the team trials was up, and a friend of mine was going, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go with me?" I think we were flying out to Nebraska at the time for the trials, and I threw some cash together and was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then I went out, had a couple really close matches. Ended up running into a couple of the one of the Bay guys that I've gone against a bunch of times. We had a good match. Mikey Rolls, he's on the scene a
Yeah.
little bit. Um, we had a great match, and then I qualified there. Got to go to Spain for my first world team. That we ended up winning the whole tournament, which was great. I took a silver medal and contributed with a couple subs, and lost in the finals. I got tossed by an Olympian, and
Wow.
I ended up landing in a reverse triangle with an arm. And I felt like I should have had some points for it, but here, let me kick the dogs off the deck. Hey guys,
It's
come
all
on.
good.
I got some new livestock guardian dogs, and they're learning. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. But so being in that kind of competitive environment, like competing overseas and stuff like that, talk to me about like what the atmosphere is in the room and I mean, do you feel the pressure when you compete or is it like water off your back?
I compete a lot, but when you get onto the bigger stage and you're like, all right, well, there's a lot of eyes and stuff on me. I tend to not really feel it towards like I expect to get to the finals, right?
Right.
And like if I don't, I'm like real upset. And then whatever happens in the finals happens. And I
Yeah.
feel like I might be like dropping the ball there sometimes, so I'm like approaching it a little differently now, and it's coming out a little better. I
Yeah.
got my arm snapped in the finals last year in Poland, or two
Ooh.
years ago in Poland, and I was up winning, and I just made a bad move, and it just happened so quick at that level. And so I
Yeah.
took a little time off and rehabbed, and now I feel stronger and a little more solid, and
Yeah.
so my weak arm became my strong arm now. So I'm like, really looking forward to getting that one back.
Yeah, that's what it's about, man. And that drive that you just talked about, like kind of expecting to get to the finals, like I need to get to the finals. That's what you got to have going into the high level competition. You got to have some sort of confidence and almost some sort of cockiness to a sense, right?
Right. I kind of call it your posture, right? If
Yeah.
I'm, depressed and sad and hanging my head, I'm going to get collar tied and smacked and somebody's going to make me try to make me their girlfriend. But if I go in there and act like I belong and keep my chin up and what's up, guys, like
Yeah.
this is what I was kind of talking with my friend about today. We, whenever I approach it, I try to approach it like I'm in charge, right?
Right.
And I'm gonna bring the fire. I'm gonna bring the heat, and like you're gonna hate to have the match with me, right? All these high level guys, they don't want matches with me because I'm gonna hurt them,
Yeah.
right? It's gonna be hard pace. I'm gonna come after you. Anything I grab, I'm gonna crank, right?
Yeah.
And I'm extremely competitive. I hate to lose.
Right. And you need to have that. Like if you're going out there and you don't really care if you win or lose, you're probably going to end up on the losing streak a little bit more than the winning streak, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one thing I've always admired about you, man, I seen you finish a ton of guys with a sick leg lock game that you have. And
That's that Dave Terrell game, really, dude.
right, right.
He had it like when Dean Lister was blowing up and blowing everybody's legs apart. I feel like Terrell was like the silent assassin that was doing it too, right? And like
Yeah,
nobody really credited that. He was showing leg locks before it was, you
he
know.
was. Yeah, the Caesar Gracie system, like it's different. Like, a lot of times I remember guys showing leg locks in the early 2000s, right? 2005,
Right.
2006. And guys like Dave Terrell were masters at it and using it in competition and just, I mean, they were
Blowing through
incredible.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, before it was popular.
Yeah. It was
And
frowned upon back then. It was you were dirty, right?
right. A lot of
Get off my leg, you dirty sucker. Yeah, everybody hated it. I used to show up to open mats and do leg locks, and everybody thought I was like the dirtiest one in the room. They still do, but now it's not for leg locks as much.
yeah. You've always been a no nonsense guy when it comes to some of your posts out there. I see you calling people out, hey, get into the training room and stuff like that. And talk to me about like what keeps you going and what keeps you driving to get everyone better because it seems like it comes from a genuine place. Like you really want people to get better that are around you.
Yeah, man. A lot of that is I was kind of like helping a lot of my friends that were in recovery
Yeah.
and different things. People out of jail had nowhere to go, and it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna put you to work on the farm.
Yeah.
Couple stipulations like you gotta stay sober. You got to have a little part-time job. If not, you're working on the farm and you have to train if you're
Yeah.
in the compound, and it works great for a lot of guys. Some guys can't get with the program. We're trying to run like a world championship camp.
Yeah.
And I'm come from a competitor's point of view of like, I'm not really a coach yet. I do coach, but I'm like still in the room banging.
Yeah.
And that puts me in a weird place a lot of the time to where I don't run my place. I call it woke jujitsu just because I don't really have another word for it. You
Yeah.
know, it's more like we're here to like I like when guys are trying to hurt me. I like when I show up to an open mat and they're like, "Oh, Brady's here," like, and they try to put it on me. And you
Yeah.
know the difference between a guy that's like just rolling with you and a guy that's trying to hurt you,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And you
Absolutely.
have to be aware because when you go into these high level matches, this guy's trying to hurt me, right? I'm
Yeah.
trying to get, they're gonna put me asleep or break something, right?
Hmm.
And if you haven't felt that, you're not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
It's a wake up call, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I try to keep that energy in the room, and the guys that are around me can definitely put it on like that. We still have a bunch of beginners and stuff, but like we wean them into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you notice by training hard and that kind of environment, like most people can't last, like as far as long-term training? Like are they getting injured or are they able to sustain it?
Well, it's the competitors that are able to sustain it, obviously, but we're not trying to actually hurt each other, but
Yeah.
you're going after each other hard,
Oh
muffle
yeah.
chokes and yeah, it gets a little like tedious and soul breaking, and it's not who's the best, it's who's last, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I gotta travel for good matches. Like I gotta get down. I go to Terrell's, they got great guys. It's still a 45-minute drive for me.
Yeah.
Or I shoot to the bay and I'll go to Scrap Pack and roll some of Gilbert's guys. Those guys are studs. Shoot over to Santos. Those guys are studs. Joe Cropshot's like one of the best rolls that I can find around the bay, I feel like.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm trying to like, really find those matches of guys that are gonna put it on me, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to challenge yourself, especially being at that higher level, right? It's not an easy like, weekend tournament that you're doing. You're doing these high level grappling matches with world-class competitors that are looking to take your legs off or take your neck off or,
Absolutely.
take an arm home, right?
Yeah, and they're not just going after move. They're game planning,
Hmm.
right? And they're studying, and these guys are. I don't know if you just watched the BJJ on UFC, and
Yeah.
nice slick, fake the handshake, and boom. We're
Yeah.
live here, dude. If you want to shake hands, do it backstage. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all for stuff like that. The muffles, Andy Varela out there still ducking me. Where you at, dude? You know?
Hey, did you see the big brawl that broke out at Summit Sub Series in Las Vegas? Andy Varela and the 10th Planet guys got into a big fist fight with Altos Lake Tahoe, and the Altos Lake Tahoe team is really deep in that Summit Sub Series, and I don't know exactly what went down, but man, there was about 20 dudes in a jiu-jitsu match throwing down.
Who
Uh,
won?
Dude, it was chaos. And the shitty thing is there's footage out there. I'll tag the footage and repost it and all that fun stuff. But we had guys like Jeff Glover breaking up the fight. The
Oh yeah,
only
legend.
the only downside was it was like a glow in the dark blacklight event. So you couldn't really see too much, but man, it got a little wild there for a minute.
I
But
thought I saw a little bit of the footage actually, but I was just like, oh, look at this nonsense.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Andy Varela was right in the middle of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like, dude, he's a stud. I have respect for Andy, but like, Andy, let's run it. This is the one you're afraid, not afraid, but like,
Yeah,
this is the one that we should run again. Come on, big dog.
yeah,
And I'm not even calling you out because you're having your right now, but like, let's roll.
yeah.
So
Did you
that's
have
where
you
I'm at
gone
with that
against
one.
him in a match?
Yeah, you can look up the high rollers match. I lost in EBI overtime,
Okay.
and then he was, and I promised I wasn't gonna come out with this, but like I told him, it's kind of I should put you on blast, dog. He was coming out for submission on the shore or something. He had a match lined up. The guy backed out. They called me last minute. I was like, "Fuck yeah, give it to me." He was still in the air on the plane, and then when he landed, all of a sudden he had a neck kick or something. So they didn't take it, but they made a poster and everything, and I was like, "It's my day, let's go, boys!" And I was feeling fresh and wild and ready.
Yeah. You
I'm getting jitters just thinking about.
is that what gets you going? The tough competition, the tough matches. Is that what
Oh
really
yeah,
like pumps you up?
opportunities. Give me those hard ones. I want to kill those guys, all of them at the top, dude. Give me the freshest names, the baddest dudes. Tackett,
Yeah,
Rotolo, Dante Leon. He's a scary dude, but I feel like I have a game for him. You know, I want these opportunities to show like at the highest level. I'm right there, right there to kill these guys. Not in a
yeah,
sense I'm not gonna do it, but I'm gonna put them down.
yeah.
It's
It's
and that's where I feel like my game is. I'm not playing them for sport. I'm like trying to take them out, right?
right.
So
Yeah, it's different. Like the sport jujitsu aspect. Like I was just at a tournament in San Luis Obispo this past weekend, and it's crazy to me like how many people just take a sport approach. And I'm like, you're going out there, bro. They're trying to rip your, they're trying to rip your arm off, dude.
at
Like,
the highest level, though, especially in some of these like UWW rule set or ADCC, even now, it's they're game planning to beat you by a point.
yeah,
You know,
it's
and
wild.
like if you play that game, you can probably maybe win it or get beat by a point, and that's I just got beat by a point this weekend.
Yeah,
You know, that's just what happens sometimes. And
yeah,
at the highest level, it's game planning. It's getting that stalling call, getting the push out, getting a close submission that they didn't really get.
yeah.
Which is whack. But what are you supposed to do? You play. I can only play where I can get my opportunities at.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's a whole nother world, man. Speaking of different rule sets, like what's your favorite rule set to compete under?
I love sub only.
Yeah.
Not EVI though. Like I would love a no time limit deal is kind of my thing. I feel like my cardio is pretty good and I can break a lot of dudes. Um, or I do enjoy like the UWW's cool. It kind of takes me back to wrestling.
Yeah.
That's more like a freestyle Greco type of deal. There's a push out rule, which you get a point for a push out.
Okay.
Um, it's basically everything except heel hooks, which sucks because I love to run the heel hook game.
Yeah.
But and then they like score. I think they're the closest like rules and points wise and sanctions and everything to be able to get like jujitsu or grappling really into the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
So you are getting big names out there like Paul Ardilla, who's won the trials a handful of times. Mario Gonzalez and his brother. I just watched his boy. I'm blanking on his name, but he's one of the most exciting 185 pounders in the game, and he doesn't get enough clout. I should be fucking remembering his name right now. Blanking. It's been a long day in the sun, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But yeah,
yeah, it's interesting though. I want to hear your take on some of the newer things that are popping up in jujitsu. One of them being like the walls, the slants. I don't know what you want to call them, the karate combat shit.
oh yeah, I'm
Uh,
about it, dude. I put one up in my gym like right after I watched the first CGI. And it definitely changes the game. You don't even have to shoot a dude down. You can just
yeah,
run up the
just run them
corner.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fan. And then when you get him up to the top of the hill, you can snap his face down and make him go
Oh yeah.
the top to the bottom. And like, dude, we've had some stuff where it's like, oh fuck, are you all right, dude? Like, damn, I didn't expect it to work that well. Or jumping off into flying triangles or arm bars is way easier,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So I'm a fan of it, dude. I think it's good. Can't get guys running, you
I
know?
I caught myself watching UFC BJJ. I think it was today, this afternoon, just catching up on all the episodes because by far I am happy with how they drop them every day and just consecutive. They're releasing episodes on YouTube left and right. But I was looking at those walls and I was kind of thinking back of all my years of jujitsu and like this is a moment. Like this is literally may change jujitsu forever.
Absolutely. These guys that are getting their chances right now, and look at the viewership on Keith Korean's match was over a mil, I think.
Yeah.
And when you start, which it's lame to say, but like it's how many viewers there are on your stuff, right? How many
Right.
views you likes you get all your social media.
Yep.
cool to see jujitsu getting that kind of clout as a community that, maybe, but it's also bringing a lot more mainstream in, and with the mainstream, you have to like cater to a different community of people that aren't used to jujitsu, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're very
It
right.
changes the game,
Yeah.
you know, and that's where we get a lot of the watering down of things.
Yeah. I think it's very impactful with the UFC now. Like I was watching that show and I'm like, this is UFC one right now of what we're seeing of jujitsu though.
Right.
And as I'm watching the show, I'm getting flashbacks of watching season one of The Ultimate Fighter live on Spike TV and some of the things, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is gonna revolutionize jujitsu from here on out. Like it's
Very
not
exciting.
the same sport as it was now that the UFC is this involved.
Yep. And dudes like Jason Nolf and those guys are like
Yeah,
getting a different community on it. All the wrestlers that are going like, oh, I can't really make any money wrestling. I should look, these guys over here making $1 million doing something I could learn pretty easy, right?
yeah. I wonder if Bo Nichols over there kicking himself for trying to be an MMA guy. He could
Right.
murk the scene in the jujitsu world, I think,
Maybe. Bo
over
Nickel,
time.
let's run it, big dog. Come on. I'm down for that match.
Yeah, he's
Him or
exciting, man.
Patty. Come on, Patty McFatty. He's probably 200 pounds right now. I won't even make you cut down to me.
Didn't you try MMA or go into MMA for a little bit?
Yeah, I fought amateur for a while. I was trying to make a pro debut not too long ago, and I had some medical come up. I was going to fight on Gilbert's show. They
Okay.
actually finally found me a fight. Seems like I have like text messages and text messages of promoters from around the Bay that were trying to line me up fights. Hey, you got to fight for me. And it seems not a lot of guys wanted it.
Yeah.
And then I was going to make the jump into pro. And as soon as I picked up I was supposed to fight a guy from AKA, and then I had a little injury last year with the arm, and then it kind of bounced back, and I just didn't really feel like I was going to be able to get through a whole camp without getting injured. So I took a
Yeah.
little time off, a couple months, and that's the first time I've done that in like 10 years, dude. I've been, you know,
Consistent.
uh, open mats every weekend and going to tournaments as often as I can and flying and traveling to different camps, working with different people. This weekend I was out in Fort Worth for the trials, and then I got to go over and roll at Renzo Gracie's, and I picked up a slick choke that I like
Nice.
hadn't really seen before.
Yeah.
And those little like pieces of gold, bro.
Yeah.
It only
Nuggets.
comes from going into the open mats and like going with these high level guys and being like, oh, what was that? Or like maybe at the end they just drop a little knowledge on you, right?
Right.
Oh,
How do you how do you balance your time being involved in jujitsu, mixed martial arts, having a big ranch out there where, I mean, that's nonstop work all the time, right? Things pop up left and right. Everything that you do, man, how do you have enough time in the day to balance everything? And then family time, of course, too, right?
right. Well, we homeschool, so my daughter's always with me.
Okay.
Um, a couple days a week we send her to like a little like private garden type of outdoor school, and it's a good deal. I get a break every once in a while, but
Yeah.
we work a lot together. I got a good team behind me that helps a lot of the time. And I just really try to manage my time well, right?
Yeah.
Lists, keep all the lists, keep my routines, and then if I can't get something in, I like will improvise, right? So like, say I can't get a workout in, I'm gonna go. I'm building a rock wall right now to like keep my tortoises out of my garden. So I got these big fat tortas that are running around, dude, and they've been eating my squash plants,
Yeah.
and I built this rock wall. So what I've been doing is pulling the truck up. I was running the wheelbarrow, and then I decided that I'm trying to do like more of a wrestling based workout. So I'll take these rocks that are big, they're the size of my head or a little smaller maybe because I got a big dome, but I'll stack them as fast as I can into the truck. Boop, 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 boop. And then I'll, try to like take shots to pick it up. And like, I try to keep it under 10 minutes, right? So I'll fill
Yeah.
the truck bed full of like big river rocks in 10 minutes. Then I'll move it over. I would simulate a match basically, right? Hand fight, shooting low, touching the ground, picking
Hmm.
up rocks, tossing full range of motion. Like I like to a lot of Kyle Dake and
Yeah.
like his workouts, and they're doing like full range of motion stuff. He's really into grounding and stuff too,
Yeah.
and like I think grounding is like key. Being barefoot in the garden all day like
Oh yeah.
keeps you
Keeps.
calm and
Yeah.
like probably gives you minerals through the dirt.
Right.
So I
Absolutely.
think that helps quite a bit.
There's a lot of transfer in the feet, right? Like they say, tape some onions to the bottom of your feet and all that stuff, but there's something going on that we don't
But
understand through the feet.
yeah, and your shoes are all rubber, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
They
You're
should be
right.
like at least wood or something more grounding.
Right. Bamboo.
Bamboo, right? Or
Yeah.
like, weird hippies walk around, shoeless. I do it all the time, but not in public because like people look at me kind of square and then I have to explain myself and I just don't want to talk to people that much.
Yeah.
I try to keep my shoes on, but I'm really trying to look for some sick, like all wood sandals that are like thin, but it's hard
Yeah.
to find.
Oh yeah, I bet. I bet there's
It's got to
somebody
be
out there
custom.
that's working on it.
Yeah. They make a killing, dude, once they figure out like the frequency grounding stuff.
Yeah. You were talking about moving those rocks and things like that. I remember John Hackelman doing the wheelbarrow exercise up the hill with guys like Chuck Liddell, and they would stack rocks and bricks in a wheelbarrow and literally pull it and push it up the hill. Like,
Absolutely, dude. It's a killer on the whole body, right? You're
right?
lifting, you're running.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Chop wood, carry water, right?
Yeah. There
Um, we live on a homestead, dude. I cook by fire. That's the
yeah.
other thing. I think all year we're killing all our food.
Yeah.
You know, it gets on a truck. It gets picked. It gets early, right? It gets picked early. That's
Yes.
very
Yep.
important. So it doesn't get a chance to like fully develop, and then gets put on a truck, and then it gets sitting in a store and storage or whatever, and then it gets put out through distribution. How many people have touched it?
Yeah.
Then it gets to the store, sits on there till you come along later on, pick it up, put it in your fridge. It sits a couple more days. Your food's dead by the time you eat it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus when you go to the soil, you pick it out of the soil, you execute it on the spot, and you gut it and you eat it that's within the hour, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't mean to be vulgar, but like that's the best way to live, dude. Like
Yeah.
when you're killing your own meat and picking your own berries when they're still alive, and then like going over to the fire, that adds a different frequency and a different like feel to your food versus like a microwave.
Yeah. Oh, big
I'm a
difference. Or
firm
air
believer,
fryer.
dude. Yeah. When I'm traveling, I'm eating fake dead food, which I try to just fast when I travel most of the time until I can find real food or a steakhouse or something.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like shit. And then the second I come back and I eat real food, my stomach's just like, oh yeah, this is what we like.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. I'm from Stockton, and they make asparagus like it's apparently the best asparagus in the world here. And what's crazy to me is I go to my local Trader Joe's and I think I'm getting all these quality organic, great asparagus, and it's all from Mexico. And I can't even buy the asparagus that's around my
Can't trust the
area.
labels, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild. Wild out there.
I don't want to like shit on the ag industry because I think farmers feed us, but I
Yeah.
feel like we've been misled in our practices a lot, tilling the ground quite a bit. It's one
Yeah.
thing to like, do a quick flip in a cover crop, but building soil is the key. Natural, um, grow kiyoshi, like biodynamic, move the animals in, and change your crop every year, rotate crops.
Yeah.
It's got to be done right, dude. We're just kind of like raping the soil out here.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild though. Like, but it's something that's not discussed enough. Like I mean, as athletes, like you do want to make sure you're putting the best stuff in your body. And you knowing exactly where your meat, where your berries, where your fruits and vegetables come from, like that is crucial, man. Like what's been put in the
Not just
soil.
knowing, but like it's still alive is the key, bro. Like if you were to
Yeah,
look at it through a microscope versus something that's sitting on the shelf, put that
yeah.
energy inside of you and go to practice.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know the difference because they haven't like tasted food so fresh, right?
Oh yeah.
So
It's
I'm trying to like make it to where like the berries are next to the mat. Like, hey, yeah, just pick some berries while I get ready for the private or whatever, our open mat, and
right.
fresh food coming off. That's the plan on this you know little
If
area that I got rocking.
I know we're kind of limited on time with the sun going down, but I don't know if you would mind just turning the camera around and giving us a quick tour of your facility out there so the fans could see it.
Yeah, man, got the boxing ring. I'm building tiny houses. So, and actually, these are all out of scrap, dude. I like took down an old barn. Same with this. This is all on solar. I'm off the grid here.
Oh
So I
wow.
got my whole mat space, and then we're gonna start laying lights in here. And we just built today like the back bed of garden space. So there's like a raised bed basically right here, and we're planting thornless blackberries all down the side that within next year or two, they'll be 6 to 8 feet tall. So this is all going to have like a real protective like shrub around it. And
Yeah.
then it's got the boxing ring. We got a hot cold plunge that is right there. And then I'm putting an outdoor kitchen. Actually, at we were going to do it this weekend. I got these big slabs of old tree trunks, and we're gonna build that's like going to be the frame. We'll put river rock all around it. It's going to be a pizza oven.
Oh
So
wow.
a girl that trains with us, she's a professional chef here in town, and she's going to cook for us straight off the garden, so we could do rolling and then like come off and do breakfast burrito steaks or bury a pig or whatever.
Yeah. That is
And then
badass, dude.
absolutely, it sits right on the vineyard. Um, And then we got a little shooting range on the backside that we do CCW qualifications. And if you
Yeah.
guys, anybody in California wants to come out and get certified, we could do that for you.
Nice. Dude, that is so cool, man. Being out there and living off the land, like having the berries, like those berries are full of so many antioxidants and good things for your body and training, like your blood flow for training, dude. Like, I mean, that's what it's about right there is having all natural stuff. And man, I love it, dude. I think that is like you said, it's like an oasis out there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I'll give you a peek of garden, tomatoes, onions. There's more blackberries, blueberries. I got a big peach tree blooming off over there. That whole side's tomatoes. This whole side up here's got tomatoes, squash, cucumbers. There's food everywhere, man. I try to just like plant an abundance of food, some for the bugs, some for the animals, enough for my people and my crew, and then a lot of extra biomass to kind of feed back to the soil, so that
Yeah,
we have enough nutrients for next year, right?
right. Man, that's truly, dude, that's badass. I love it, man. And it's funny. I saw something on Instagram recently, and with AI and all this crazy shit going on, it asked AI like if you could break out of whatever you're in, like what would you do? And like I really got blown away by this article because it was like, oh, first I would understand that I need to get away from technology. Then I need to live and grow all of my own fruits and vegetables and everything I produce I need to eat. Like, factory farming and all that stuff is not the way to go. And then this is from an AI robot.
Right.
It's
I had an old wrestling coach that he was the oldest hippie that came in, and the stuff he said like didn't make sense half the time. But he was all about biodynamic regenerative gardening, and he like really passed on some knowledge through I would go do wrestling camps with him, and then he would teach us about gardening and stuff. And early years ago, and I used to be like, nah, that's not how they do it in farming. I grew up in the FFA and 4-H, and I was into common practices, and then like these guys are on the leading edge of biodynamic farming, right?
yeah,
And that's what it is living on your own, homesteading.
yeah,
What's being sprayed,
yeah,
it's happening with your handling of everything, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know. Just people need to take a little more personal responsibility. If you, not everybody has to be a farmer, dude, but like if half of the people that are doing it now have just got one other person to do it with them, we'd start changing things in the way that, bring it back to the farmers and like the locals, right?
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you, how many egg shortages did you have?
We didn't feel no egg shortages. I'm the only egg shortages were who were we deciding to send eggs to, right?
Yeah.
So it was cool. At the time, actually, we were running 500 chickens.
Uh-huh.
So that was, we do them in batches, right? Because at a certain point they stop laying or
Yeah.
whatever, and then we retire them. And I'm doing like a little grazing thing where we do weed management.
Okay.
So we incorporate the birds in with the goats and the sheep, and they run through the vineyards. And I'm trying to get my herd up to like a couple hundred so that I could do like some big contract deals. And
Yeah. That's pretty
that's
cool, man.
long term. Jiu-jitsu wasn't paying as good as it is today. Now I don't know, CJI or one of these guys put me on, dude. I can put on a show too. I could wear a little skinny thong like Craig Jones and do a dance. I don't care. I'll choke somebody out with it on, dude. Let's run it.
Yeah. Where do you see your jujitsu career going? Like as you get older, obviously you won't be able to compete forever. There's going to be
Right.
a time where you're going to have to, say, "Hey, I need to put into some coaching or something else," right? Where do you see your career?
Right.
Where do you see everything going in the future?
You know, um, I'm 34 years old, dude. I still got a couple good, strong years, I feel. And I haven't even jumped on the bomba. I've been holding off, dude. And I told myself one day maybe I would, but as time ticks on, I feel like maybe that might not be the move for me.
Yeah.
Um, but if I wanted to extend my career, probably would do that. I don't know. I am losing. Like I noticed when I'm getting ready and cutting weight, I'm like, fuck, why am I still doing this to myself?
Yeah.
But um, then I get into the finals and I get that feeling and I love it again. So
Yeah.
I don't know. After what's next for me, I'll probably just focus on bringing up the next in line. But it's got to be very specific. I'm only going to choose my time to work with the right guys that'll kind of I'm not gonna. I find in jujitsu there's a lot of people that waste your time, right?
Yeah.
They want to be a champion, they want to do all these things, and then they like don't put in the work or don't put in the effort. And at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, it comes down. I can't make you better. I can
Right.
only teach you or show you how I find a way to be better myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I I I like to coach and help guys, but I don't know if that'll end up being a long term thing for me. Maybe I'll find a cool little coaching spot or something. I haven't thought about the 5 year plan or 10 year plan right now. I want to win a couple world championships and sub some of the biggest names that I can. I'm gonna try to call out as many people as I can to like get my matches, dude. I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to run these big names. Like that's what I've noticed in this. Or people are afraid to lose or something, and
Yeah.
people are
It's
afraid to lose to people that aren't famous.
Yeah. It's crazy though because like I mean you lose every day in practice, right? Like there comes a time someone catches you, right? And that's what we got to look at like losses come, right? Nobody's 100% unless they're Hickson Gracie, you know?
Right. But
So,
I don't know about you if you competed, but like I don't know. Every time I'm entering a competition or something, especially going through a tough camp, like I've never really entered in at 100%.
no.
You know,
No.
there's always something. There's an ache of pain or something. You
Yep.
just kind of expect it, dude. You just got to learn how to get through it.
Yeah. It is very I don't think I've ever done anything 100%. Like in any of my MMA stuff, there was always, something going on in all of my jujitsu competitions, little rib here or there, knee injury, whatever.
Right. Just banged up.
You got to go out there, you got to perform, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, man,
I know.
it's that you were talking about the big matches, right? And who would you say out there right now? I know you called Andy Varela's name out a few minutes ago, but who would you say that Brady has his eyes set on for like, his next big move?
Well, I'm looking at Sam Schwartz. me and him have a little history. I think everybody should have like a nemesis, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want the best guys. I want Tackett. I want, which I really like Tackett, but I think me and him would have a cool match. Levi Jones, I think I'd be able to go after him again.
Yeah.
Um, I want these names that like are on the biggest stages. I'm pretty sure I can grab these guys and sub them, or at least make them run for their life as I muffle choke them or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Jason Nolf, all these wrestlers. I'd love to go against some of these wrestlers,
Yeah.
dude. You know,
Yeah. I remember when you were hitting those leg locks, like half the time you were baiting these guys into doing exactly what you wanted at that Grappling X match. It was just like low level guys didn't understand what I was watching, but I was literally watching you like give them things because it would put them right into your game. And
absolutely. Yeah,
it was great to watch, man. Like you're very impressive. You're fun to watch out there. You make the matches interesting. Like you're not just a boring grappler trying to stay on top the whole time and not lose their position. You're like, hey, I'll throw my leg out there because I'm gonna grab your shit. So
absolutely.
man, I'm excited to see where you evolve in the future. I'm excited to see the next chapter of what's to come, man. Like you're truly you're different than everyone else that I see out there. That's why I wanted to have you on the show. And you know,
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
yeah, it's
I try to bring a different approach to the game. A lot of these guys I feel like do try to do it for money or all that. It's like the greats weren't great because at birth they could paint. The greats were great because they paint a lot, right? And I've
yeah,
been on the scene trying to like compete as much as possible and find the biggest names to beat. And I'm trying to like, but I'm not trying to go to these like IBJJF tournaments and shit, dude. I want to like have a real match with these guys. Let's do some sub only, or I love the CJI or the UFC setup with the pit, dude.
yeah.
Like, let me run in that thing,
Do
you
you,
know?
do you see the IBJJF like falling off down the road?
Absolutely. I mean, this is what I think is going to happen. Maybe not. There's a couple guys that are trying to keep the gi thing alive, and it's definitely has its own art, dude. I'm not hating on the gi. I think it's really useful, and maybe if you could turn the gi into like more of a hoodie or a sweatshirt or something that like it has more like you know walking around purpose.
Practicality.
Right,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. Something that you could be like, you could teach a totally different game with the hoodie and put it in like a gi material.
yeah,
I think that would be something that would change jujitsu a little bit for the better, for the more general public,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because like a lot of people aren't doing this to compete.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are doing this so that they feel like they can go down to the bar and like they'll be able to handle themselves or something,
Yeah,
or in a grocery store or being a little girl in a situation. If you have a
yeah,
hoodie on and you practice in the hoodie and you learn how to choke people in hoodies, I feel
yeah.
like that's more applicable.
Yeah. No, it's very true. I have a friend out in Florida. Shout out to my buddy Dave Lowson, Caesar Gracie black belt too. And man, he has a t-shirt night and a hoodie night to where you come in and they'll use your t-shirt to choke you, they'll use your hoodie to choke you, and put it more in a practical situation. That's what it's about. I see those lights coming
For
on, man.
sure.
That
Trying to
sunset.
get the sunset going, and the greenhouses are all popping.
Yeah, dude, that is beautiful. Wow. Do you
Yeah,
catch
it's
yourself
really
just hanging out there all the time? Just
all the time, dude. Just yeah, it's peaceful. The owls get rolling through here. There's like probably 20 or 30 owls through all the owl boxes in the field, and they
wow.
get screaming, and then the coyotes get screaming,
Yeah.
and I'll bust out the night vision and I'll like try to pinpoint them, because like coyotes aren't. I'm hoping that the livestock guardian dogs start doing their job a little bit more
Oh
around here,
yeah.
but they're young pups. But
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to hear them scream back and forth at each other. That's probably
Yeah.
my favorite thing.
Yeah. It gets wild when you're out in a place like that and you start hearing the coyotes go and you hear all the different sounds out there. The crickets a few minutes ago. It really makes a song pretty much out there.
Absolutely. You
What
know.
what are some of your other hobbies outside of grappling and jujitsu and farming?
Yeah, dude, dirt bikes. I like to ride. I love paintball. There's like a
Okay.
sick paintball spot about 25 minutes. It's a 40-acre eucalyptus grove
Oh
with like
wow.
fat forts all built through teepees and stuff. And it's like the thick forest shrub, and you can like get lost in it and then sneak up on people and like smoke them from behind and run away laughing and shit. Dude, it's my favorite fucking game ever. And that helps your cardio and your heart
Oh
rate, and you
yeah.
get all that adrenaline and everything. I saw something Anderson Silva was doing that too. I thought
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love doing the paintball. We show livestock, all over the country.
Yeah.
Um, the my family's really big with the livestock industry, and raising meat,
Yeah.
raising food. We're right here on the river, so we fish, we shoot. Um, yeah, man, that's about it.
Yeah. Well, man, it's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better, getting to talk to you. I think I'm going to have to take you up on that offer going out to Sonora and paying you a visit sometime
Sonoma,
soon.
Sonoma.
Sonoma, Sonoma.
Yeah, Sonora is not the nice place
Oh,
out there. It's
yeah.
dry, right? No,
Yeah.
Sonoma, Napa, right?
Okay.
We're out in wine country.
Okay. So, yeah, we're going to have to make a trip out there here pretty soon and go pay you a visit, man. It is just too
Absolutely.
beautiful out there.
Cook some
But
ribeyes.
yeah. But in closing, man, I just want to say again, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day, man. I know you're a very busy guy. But thank you again for taking the time out. I always give my guests just a couple minutes for shout outs, for love for their training partners, whatever they want to say. But yeah, just take a couple minutes. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks to you for having me on here. Definitely. Dave Terrell, all the Scrap Pack crew, John Santos, my family, the girls, my team, all my sponsors. Thank you to Represent and all the boys out, Nick and Nate Diaz, all the Stockton crew, Randy Spencer, all those
Yeah.
killers, Jake Shields, all these guys that like I really looked up to and studied. Jeff Glover. Um, yeah, man, and I think that's about it. Bill Manzoni, definitely. Thank you very much. If you ever hear this, I don't know, you probably won't, but he's a real one for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, dude. There's so many people I should be thanking because like I got a whole network and team behind me that just love to like watch me perform and really want to see me succeed. And Tony and Rory Paglio, shout you guys out. My mom and dad.
Yeah.
Shout out, mom. I told you one day I'm gonna make it big, dude. I haven't done it yet, but it's coming. I
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love it, man. Like I said, dude, it's been an honor having you on. I wish you nothing but continued success in the future. If fans want to train with you or fans want to follow you, how do they find you out there?
Yeah, find me Blackbelt Farmer on my Instagram, or follow the Warrior in the Garden podcast. We've been shooting a couple episodes and kind of working our kinks out with that. We're gonna do lives and do a tournament Warrior in the Garden out on the farm and
Yeah.
some seminars. Hopefully, I can get some of the boys to commit, Terrell or somebody to do something special out here.
Yeah. Dude, that sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, again, thank you for being a part of this episode. Thank you to our sponsors, Spar Bar Soap and Butterfly X. Go check them out. Our code word for Butterfly X is Grapplers Talk 10. You get 10% off your rash guards over there. And for Spar Bar Soap, our code word is Grapplers Talk. You get 10% off over there. Again, this has been another great episode of Grapplers Talk. This is Dave, and we are out.